In today's video, we have an interview with Dwayne. Now, I met Dwayne about a year, maybe a year and a half ago, and he was one of the first people who had joined my agency coaching program, Grow B2B. Dwayne was still figuring out his offer at that time, and he decided to do the same thing as myself, B2B lead gen. Now, I love working with Dwayne because he is somebody who comes with questions, he's an implementer, he's really bright, and just right on top of it. So in today's interview, I want to talk to Dwayne, see what he thinks about Grow B2B, and also learn more about his journey, how he's developed his agency, where he's at right now, and where he hopes to go. So let's go ahead and get into the interview. All right, everybody, welcome to the channel. Today we have a great interview with Dwayne, who is a client of Grow B2B, and we're going to talk a bit about his journey from going from 0 to 25 total clients he's worked with. Dwayne, welcome to the channel.
Thank you for inviting me. Happy to talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to start off, Dwayne, when we first met, you were just getting into the agency space. So I think for people to kind of see your transition and timeline, what did you do before going into the agency world?
Before getting in the agency world, I was actually working in the petrochemical industry. And I was kind of like, I was working really hard, pushing 60 hours a week, trying to get a promotion and everything that comes with it. But yeah, I didn't get the promotion. I felt kind of sour about it. And then I kind of decided for myself that I wanted to do something on my own, without a boss, without somebody else to like constantly prove things for. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I rolled into the agency space. First, I was doing actually something completely different. I was doing like AI automations. I felt that that was hard to like scale, difficult to price, difficult to scale, difficult to standardize across different clients. And then, I was getting those clients through cold email. And then I just kind of decided that I wanted to do cold email for B2B businesses.
Well, backing up a little bit, the average story for someone starting an agency is like, oh, I was in college, I didn't want to get a job after, or it was, I tried drop shipping, but it failed. I worked in the petrochemical industry in a legitimate corporate job. It requires lots of qualifications. Is not like the typical story for someone who goes and starts a marketing agency. Was that the only business you considered, or what landed your sights on that particular business model?
No, like I was just trying to do anything outside of my job. Like as I said, like I was doing 12-hour days, and then at the I would come home and I would check my responses from my cold email campaigns. I would take the sales calls, and I just kind of like decided for myself, I'm just gonna do this. I'll figure it out along the way. And yeah, that's really, kind of how I got my first clients through cold email for a different offer. But yeah, I mean, that was, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of how I got the ball rolling for when I got in the agency space.
Well, awesome. And one thing I like to emphasize there is, a lot of people take way too much time figuring out what their niche is going to be in their offer. Like, you're not going to stick with what you start probably. And that's not a bad thing. But
Yeah.
like your example is classic. Like I did some marketing to get my own clients and then realized the marketing I was doing was a better service. That story happens numerous times. Now, I'm going to assume that your first cold email client was also gotten through cold email. Is that correct?
Yeah. Let me think. Actually, my first cold email client was through Upwork. Upwork was, yeah, I actually got like built a profile, completed it. Yeah, I got some testimonials from previous clients that I could use as social proof on my Upwork profile. I think that helped a lot, especially in the beginning. But yeah, my first cold email clients came through Upwork actually.
And this is kind of a funny story because I think the way that you started an Upwork was, and obviously in Grow B2B, we talk about cold emails, the main thing we talk about. But I have been doing Upwork for forever. And I'd always kind of mentioned, yeah, it's the easiest thing ever, but no one did anything. And then you're like, yeah, let me give that a try. And you're like, holy crap, this is the easiest thing ever, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Upwork, especially if you already have a profile, like if you already have social proof, yeah, Upwork is probably like your biggest way of like finding high intent clients. Like the only thing that you need to do is convince them that you're the right person to solve their problem. Like they've already gone out their way, spent time on Upwork, filled out a job post, publish it, and admitted to you that they need your service. Like the sale on Upwork is way easier than trying to find that needle in the haystack with cold email.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that. I mean, the intent factor is there. And, when you're sending a cold email, you have to learn how to either identify that demand or you have to learn how to educate people too, which adds extra
Yeah,
layers of complexity. Where on Upwork, your sales cycles can sometimes be 2 or 3 days. Now, I'm
it's
curious, how
true.
many applications do you think it took you to get your first client? I know you probably don't have the exact number. For someone listening to this, do you have any idea?
Well, it depends on what you mean by client, right? Like in the beginning, first of all, I was really spending a lot on connects and trying to find my ICP and just trying to get like some type of reviews from Upwork itself. And so my first clients were jobs for like, consulting gigs for like $50, $100, $150. But like my first real client with like a serious monthly recurring revenue, I think maybe a couple weeks. Yeah, was like a really cool waste management and recycling startup based out of Sydney, Australia. Yeah, that was probably my first serious client after a couple weeks on Upwork.
I remember you bringing this client to the calls because I was like, that's like the dream client, someone who has a boring service with minimal competition and no one else is doing outreach for them. That's like the ideal scenario. I remember you brought that client to me. I'm like, man, I'm a little bit jealous in this one because that's work with too. Um, and,
Yeah.
and since then, what does your workflow look like on Upwork for anybody listening? Is it something where you're on there 3 times a day, once a day? Is a VA doing it?
So yeah, these days I have a VA doing my application for me. But like yeah, in the beginning I was doing it. I was actually kind of like monitoring it like almost all day long. I was sending around 15 to 20 applications a day, 7 days a week, not five. I was taking every single sales call, even if I thought, this call is only going to be maybe going to be a 5 or 10% chance of me landing this client, or this person maybe doesn't have the budget. I still took the sales call because in the beginning you kind of have to figure things out, and the way you do that is by, just putting in the hours and taking all the sales calls. Like at one point, I had like 14 sales calls in a single week from Upwork. Granted, some of them were from like people from low income countries that didn't really have a serious budget, but you kind of only know once you're on the call. Like you can't disqualify people before you talk to them.
And also, when you're first starting, like going through the motions of a sales call is so helpful because, sometimes I forget because I've been taking sales calls on at least one a day, Monday to Friday for 10 years. Like you just
Mhm.
you're so used to it where I it's hard for me to remember how intimidating the first one was. And I think that there's some added confidence in getting on a sales call where like you don't actually care if they close. I know that's kind of counterintuitive because you don't want to waste much time on these people. But for the first 5, 10, 15, like talking to that like startup in India is worth it to go
Yeah,
through the motions.
absolutely, absolutely. No, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Like it kind of gives you like a type of confidence, and that like subconsciously, like you're always going to convey that. Like if you have, if you're talking to someone and you realize, this is not going to be, this is not a fit, and like 30 minutes later you have another call, you kind of just shrug off every time you don't land a client. So yeah, I couldn't agree more.
I try to stay away from like some of the mindset stuff I find a little bit more cringy, but like it is true. It's very easy to be cool, calm, and collected when you have a full day of sales calls as opposed to when you don't have any. I mean, even myself, if we ever have a drier week, I notice I'm a little bit off where like Monday we had 10 sales calls and it's like you this person's not a fit. I don't care. There's 9 more of you today, right? So build up that momentum and it helps where if you have one sales call a week it can be really nerve-wracking. And I also see people where they like way over prepare and then they're completely bummed out if that person no shows or something.
Yeah, and like it puts a lot of mental pressure on the call, right? Like you desperately need that guy to sign, you need that revenue, and that's like your only opportunity for some revenue. Like, and you're gonna convey that in like you're like a sales call is a lot about like confidence and like people can tell if you're not really about it.
Yeah, and another thing too is like it starts things off on the wrong foot as well because people get in, they're desperate and needy, that attracts desperate needy clients. Then they get a bad relationship with the first client, that client drops them, and it's a really hard cycle where, again, having that kind of abundance, I can't believe I used that word, having that type of abundance does help because it brings you better clients who actually do stick around.
Yeah.
Um, Now, transitioning a little bit to yourself, so you're getting some clients from cold email, you're getting some clients from Upwork, you're doing cold email for companies. Walk me through a little bit about your actual service. Are you doing more of consulting work on cold email? Are you managing campaigns? Are you helping people with their internal systems, kind of like I do? What does your core offer look like, or does it vary?
So yeah, it does vary. So I do cold email in three different offers, like on a consulting basis, where like a client already has something running, and I just audit it for and like optimize it for deliverability. I help them write copy. I teach them how to build a lead list, how to verify contact details, how to find data points, relevant data points on their prospects. And then I also do like what some people call like build and release, where I build the infrastructure and then provide an SOP to the sales team on how to run and track and what to track and what not to track and how to efficiently go from email to a meeting. And then what I also do is like the everything that I just mentioned, plus the managing, tracking, and booking the meeting on the calendar of our prospect. And now, I actually, in like the last month, I'm also offering the Upwork optimization. Building the profile, building specialized profiles, sending personalized proposals, and then bidding and boosting and booking meetings on the calendar of our clients. And that has really taken off as well, actually.
Another great example of like your first offer is never going to be your last because it was let's use cold email to get automation clients. Oh crap, cold email's great. Wait, let's get cold email clients of Upwork. Wait, Upwork's great. Now I will say that um, I don't think cold email is saturated. I don't think automation is saturated. I think they're both massive markets. But I will say
Yeah,
I know like five serious competitors when it comes to Upwork. One is one of my friends, Nico Hesso, you also know. And if you're listening,
yeah.
Upwork, there's an interview with him too. But there's like five
Mhm.
serious people on Upwork. It is amazing how Upwork is just so slept on. And I recommend it to people day and night. And people think, but there's broke people on Upwork. Well, yeah, there are, but there's also Fortune 1000 companies. Like it's,
Yeah,
I mean, even inside Grow B2B, I'll give a hard time to other people in the program. You and me talk about Upwork all the time and how few people actually do it.
yeah,
It's
it's true.
and it's so easy because people don't want to spend
Yeah,
30 cents to apply to a job, even though
yeah,
it's like, worst case scenario, you're spending like, I don't think if we broke it down, I bet we're both spending like 20, $30 on a call. Like that's it.
yeah. It's probably the cheapest sales call you're gonna get.
It outside of referrals and your mom's friend, there is nothing cheaper than Upwork when it comes to getting sales calls. And what is
Yeah,
this? So this offer for you. So right now you're managing Upwork for people. Now with Upwork, obviously this is not just like agency stuff. It's graphic design, it's CAD design, it's 3D renderings, it's I'm gonna
yeah.
give you a book. So how are you choosing what businesses you want to serve?
So I'm looking at competition, and I also look at where, like, when I choose my clients or when I'm like building a prospect list for myself. I try to go for clients that already have like a good profile, a lot of experience. Yeah, I mean, we work with like, for example, this one company. They're out of Chicago. They've got an amazing profile. They already have a lot of social proof, and then it kind of comes natural to like look at Upwork as a source of high intent leads, because for them it's way harder to compete in other like in other ways of finding clients. But like on Upwork, like how many people have worked with Microsoft, SpaceX, Salesforce, AIG? Like you immediately stand out. So yeah, it's those are kind of like the clients that we're looking for.
Well, that's awesome. Now, second to last question here, Dwayne, is obviously the future is forever changing and you would think something differently maybe 6 months ago. But as of right now, what do you think the next couple of years look like for you and what you hope to accomplish?
So the next couple of years, I mean, as you said, like it's probably not gonna think what in 6 months what I think now, but I guess like I really want to help more companies and especially like marketing agencies, especially in Europe, where I'm based. Like I'm based in Belgium. Like in Europe, I don't think most European marketing agencies realize how easy it is to get American clients because usually they have bigger spending power and more capital to deploy vis-a-vis their European counterparts. And it's also like really easy for them to like compete against other like they're not as expensive as the American companies, but same quality, like better quality than income countries. So I really want to scale that part of the business, and I really also want to scale the cold email part. Like we're really good at that as well. Like it's kind of funny. Like I'm getting cold email clients through Upwork, but I'm getting Upwork clients through cold email. So and yeah, I mean, and both of those are really scalable. So yeah, that's kind of like I guess what the next 12 to 18 months look like for me.
Well, awesome. Now, Dwayne, I would normally say check out Dwayne's YouTube down below, but Dwayne doesn't have one, which hopefully he'll change and he'll come back to me and say, hey, Michael, I repent. Here's my YouTube link. But for now,
Yeah.
the best we have is LinkedIn. So if you want to connect with Dwayne, there is a link below to his LinkedIn. Have him help you out with Upwork. Have him help you out with cold email. Just say hi. Shoot him a hate message. I don't know. Do what you want to do, right? It's a free country. But Dwayne, thanks so much for being on the channel. It's been a pleasure working with you inside Grow B2B. You've been on top of it, taking action, and I always appreciate the questions you bring to calls. So thanks, man, and I hope we can catch up with another interview a year from now.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. You've been a great source of help as well. And yeah, I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for Grow B2B. So thanks.
Thank you. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Dwayne. Now, if you want to see more about what Dwayne does, I will have his links in the description where you can check him out. And if you do want my help building either your B2B lead gen agency or just your cold email department, go ahead and check out the description where you can see more information about working together. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.